Finance Friday. First Ontario's Senior Manager of Business Services, Colin Cyr, is here to talk about the lending landscape and how it's changed over the years. Good morning.
Good morning, Rick. How are you doing?
I'm good. Let's talk about lending and how it was and how it is. Let's start with the past.
Well, we'll talk about the past. I guess the good news is that things have gotten much better for the small business, so we'll start with that. But let's walk back what small business lending looked like for a lot of businesses not that long ago. Three things. One, assets. Many small businesses had to prove to lenders that they had considerable collateral in order for that lender to lend to them. Lenders wanted to feel comfortable they had something to maybe to recoup on if that loan didn't go well. Two, reporting. Small businesses had to prove that they had the income, balance sheets, receivables listings in order to get that lending. And that often meant working with accountants to get, documents, filing statements, often which could be expensive and pretty cumbersome for small businesses. And then length of time. You're often looking at weeks, months at a time for deals to get approved, sent back and forth between adjudicators. Really made it a tricky environment for small businesses. They were kind of being assessed the same framework that commercial businesses were being addressed by, and it was challenging. And you look at your typical small business, they don't really have those things, right? They're e-commerce businesses or digital services or trades. They don't have those assets necessarily. They don't have access a lot to CPAs. It's QuickBooks stuff, and they certainly don't have time. And so things had to change, and fortunately they have.
Yeah. So when did the change happen?
It's been a gradual shift, but I think you can look at the last decade as been a pretty transforming time for small business, particularly due to technology. So we'll start first with this idea that assets had to be at the root of lending. The most part, lenders are starting to look at small businesses less as what do I have to recoup if this deal goes bad to what's the likelihood I have to recoup at all. And so from an asset focus to more of a cash flow focus. Is there enough cash flow from the small business to support this deal? From a reporting standpoint, less financial statements, more real raw financial data. So lenders are actually working with the bank statements of a small business. So if you have a business bank account, your lender can actually take a look at what's going in, what's coming out, and make some lending decisions based on that. And that's actually more accurate than almost anything at the small business level. And then time, months, weeks, let's talk days, right? We're talking same day return on your approvals, and small businesses can look at asking for money in the morning and getting it by sundown sometimes.
Wow. Yeah. And obviously there's an advantage with that in terms of not having to wait those weeks and months that they did before.
Well, it's proven that small businesses, for them, the most important thing really is timing, right? And many small businesses are unfortunately paying premiums for those timing issues. So just-in-time borrowers is what we often say. You don't need money until you need it, and then you really need it. And so there's a lot of players in that space with the merchant services. Your POS providers are be able to now lend to you right on the spot. Fintechs, of course. This is good overall for businesses, but they pay that premium for that service, right? We often look at it like you can get a flight ticket real last minute, but you're probably going to be paying for it. If you plan it ahead, you tend to be able to take better advantage of the pricing.
So the pro is you're going to get it done quickly. The con is you're going to have to pay a little bit more, as opposed to contacting you and saying, hey, let's map out a plan of attack.
Yeah, there's no substitute for thinking about the long term. Even, planning for unexpected things. It seems sort of counterintuitive, but it's the truth. Unexpected things happen all the time in business. So work with an advisor. Look at things like operating lines of credit. They can be put in place well before the need is there, and you're typically paying a lot less of a rate on those types of facilities than you would if you had a merchant advance or something in the short term. So it's good that those are available, but be smart and think ahead. You'll be rewarded.
As always, great insight. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, you can email your questions to financeFriday@firstontario.com. If your question or topic is selected to be covered on air, you'll receive a gift card from First Ontario.